Stephen A., Molly, and Max will be back in New York City. The first time they'll be back since March. Wow. Thank you for holding it down. Look forward to having you guys back. Simply put, you're the best big three in the business.
That's a lie, but I do love Mark Jackson. Welcome back to First Take. We're coming to you live from above the Heineken River deck here at Pier 17. It sure feels good to be back, fellas. Tom Brady using a Week 1 loss as bulletin board material should be nothing new to NFL fans. The Bucs quarterback led his team to a Week 2 win, keeping his perfect record of rebounding off a Week 1 loss going back all the way 21 seasons. Max Kellerman, his new head coach, had this to say after the game.
I think he has a pretty good history of that. And, this game should have never gotten to as close as it did. But we let him back in. But I thought he played outstanding. His leadership on the sideline was great. And put us in the right play, a number of different audibles, and played really, really well.
Well, Cliff Kellerman. What do you have to say for yourself? He still got it.
Well, this is what I was going to say on the show, but my microphone wasn't working on Friday. But I did say it on the radio, and you guys heard it in the production meeting, and now I'm going to say it now. I said on Friday, Tom Brady would be overrated on Monday morning. Here we are on Monday morning, and everyone's overrating him. Tom Brady was meh. He was meh. He was okay. Wow. He did worse against the least experienced secondary, whose best players playing on a bad foot, right? With a bad defensive team, he did worse than Derek Carr did the week before. What did he really do? They won behind a Leonard Fournette running attack. This was supposed to be a dynamic offense, right? You beat a bad team with a bad defense, mainly with your running game, and I'm supposed to be impressed? I took Tom Brady in daily fantasy. I thought he was going to have a huge game. Highly motivated. Your head coach publicly says, forget about everything else. Questions your grit and determination. You're the GOAT. Everywhere you look, there's a weapon. The least experienced secondary in the league, a defensive front that's not supposed to get pressure, and that's all you can do? And the Raiders QB the week before does better than you did this week? That's the best you can do? Now, is he getting used to a new team and all those things? Yeah, the best thing he did was throw that ball to Mike Evans. Tom Brady, the GOAT, knows how to hit an outside receiver when that guy is too big and strong for the DB to handle. Of course he can do that still. He's still an NFL quarterback. But any competent NFL quarterback would have done at least what Tom Brady did this past weekend. At least. Was he terrible? No. But actually, compared to expectations in week 2, he severely underperformed my expectations, including the 2 drops that could have been scores. He underperformed my expectations for him. And take a look at the numbers. They don't lie.
Well, first of all, the numbers do lie because there were 2 passes that were in the end zone that were dropped. That's number 1. Number 2, if you look at the first 6 quarters out there, first quarter, they said that his first 6 passes were on target. He was dropping dimes all over the place. He looked considerably better. Now, that's not overrating him because the numbers ultimately were relatively pedestrian, only 217 yards passing. Had they caught those couple of passes, it might have been for over 300 yards. But in the end, what it came down to is here's what I say you have to be impressed about with Tom Brady's performance. He connected with Mike Evans. 7 receptions for 104 yards. That's what you wanted. In the first game, it was 1 reception for about 4 yards. By the way, he only targeted Gronk 1. Gronk didn't have 0. He had 0 receptions for 0 yards. Chris Godwin, I don't know if you've got his name, Max. He didn't play. He was hurt. He was out, okay? So understand that when you look at Tom Brady, not only is Godwin out, but clearly by you not targeting Gronk and only throwing 1 pass to O.J. Howard, it was a situation where clearly he's in his second game. He's trying to adjust. Obviously, he took the bull by the horn a little bit more in game 2. Game 1, he was relying a little bit more on trying to master Bruce Arians' system along with Byron Leftwich. There's a lot that's going on. We can't judge what we're seeing from the first 2 games and say this is who Tom Brady is and this is who he's going to be in this offense. First of all, you got to have all your weapons. And secondly, and more importantly, you got to know, okay, this is your offense. I no longer have to figure out everything. And by the way, here's the reason he would have to figure out so much stuff. Because the other players outside of him and Gronk have been there with Arians. So even though you want to walk in there and take the bull by the horn and say, this is what works for me and this is what I need to do, you also want to make sure that you adjust to the players playing with you, because all of them are familiar with what Bruce Arians has already wanted to do because they've already played for the man. Those kind of things got to be taken into consideration. I don't disagree with you in terms of, oh, my goodness, no need to blow up Tom Brady. But we do have to give respect where respect is due. He did play a good game. He did have a good game.
The Evans point was good.
Well, the Evans point, like, as I said, Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, knows how to hit a big receiver on the outside if he beats his man. Like, and Mike Evans.
Second game together ever.
I'll say this. I was expecting much more, including even when you count in the 2 drop passes, even if you want to say those would have been scores, I was expecting a better game.
One was right in
I was expecting a better game from Tom Brady. As I said, Derek Carr performed better against the same defense than Brady did a week later. I will say this. If your argument is simply Tom Brady, what they were really looking for in Tampa is a quarterback who wouldn't make so many mistakes and who would sometimes come through on 3rd down and could rely on the weapons around him to do a lot of the work.
Yeah.
And if he did all that, this team would compete for a playoff spot? Yeah, I'm with that. That's what I've been trying to say Tom Brady is for the last couple of years. He's that kind of quarterback.
Did you just say that Derek Carr played better against the defense that Tom Brady faced last week? No, they play tonight, don't they?
No, last week.
I'm saying Tom Brady played against. In other words, we don't know what Derek Carr has done yet. When he goes up against the Saints, we'll see what he does.
No.
You're talking about
against the Panthers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Monday Night Football, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you're right.
I was like, what's he talking about?
Saints. All right. Yeah, it works the other way too. You're right. It works both ways.
Monday Night Football.
We'll see. We'll have a really good comparison.
Raiders Saints. So that one will be a fun one as well. Okay, enough of getting on you. Now it is time to get on you. Rough night for Stephen A. Smith, tweeting up a storm, talking a lot of junk, a whole lot of mess. I saw him coming down my timeline. And then what, Mr. Smith? Crickets. Did you get cramps in those fingers? What happened? Stephen A. will defend himself next. Oh, it was Jared Goff to Tyler Higbee all day as the Rams take down the Eagles on their home turf, handing Philly their second loss of the season. Carson Wentz went 26 of 43, 242 yards, 0 TDs, and 2 INTs.
I've said it a couple times now, but we're not panicking. The sky's not falling. There's some good things that we're doing, and we'll get back on it.
All right. On that note, we need to bring in one of Wentz's biggest supporters, my guy, Dan Orlovsky. But, Max, I want to start with you. You guys have had a lot of battles about Carson Wentz. Do you think he's more part of the problem or the solution here?
Clearly, he's part of the solution. And, Dan, I went through this last week with Kawhi, right? Now, Kawhi is the best player in the world, and LeBron proved otherwise, and I had to sit here and listen to this man for 2 hours make fun of me. You're getting it from me today. I told you last year he was part of the problem. If you watched, he got healthy against the worst NFC, that was the worst division ever, the NFC East last year, until this year's NFC East, which may be even worse. He got healthy against a bunch of quarterbacks and defenses late in the season where every other quarterback in that division actually performed better against those teams than Wentz did. Even during that time, Wentz would have back-breaking, 4th quarter, 3rd down turnovers, and they got a little lucky and he was celebrated. The Eagles front office agreed with me. They saw what I saw because, guys, instead of packaging their 2nd-round pick and moving up to take the wideout they wanted, they drafted a quarterback. And you were still like, no, they didn't draft a quarterback in the 2nd round because they don't believe in Wentz. Of course they did. I think Wentz may be sitting soon. Look, here's the problem. Last year you could say whatever you want. This year, Wentz's own words. He's talking about we have the talent on offense. The problem's not the team. The problem's the quarterback. What I hear is that he changes the plays, is that Peterson can't really run his offense because Wentz tries to do too much when he shouldn't. Think about when he turns over the ball, guys. This is not a 2nd-year player. He's in his 5th season. Right. He has market-setting type money when he got the contract, right? There's no excuse for this. They're up 3 scores on Washington. He gives them life. He starts turning the ball over. He fumbles. He tries to do too much. Same thing this week. Wentz has regressed so shockingly, and I know why you like him, Dan, because same thing with me. He is capable of producing like few are capable just physically of producing. He can do things, and he's tough, right? Like I was in L.A. the day he got hurt, right, and still went out, hobbled out, and completed 2 passes. He's tough. He wants to be great. supremely talented. He is a bad quarterback who's costing his team, who will not be starting much longer if he continues to play like this.
So you're saying you believe he's the problem, not the solution?
He is the problem.
All right, I'm going to try and focus on like staying in the moment for what's happening now and not talking about the past too much. He's not the problem, but his play is problematic. It is absolutely hurting their football team, and it boils down to a simple thing. He is trying to prove like 2017 was not the anomaly. Like he's trying to prove every single play that he is Patrick Mahomes level, Aaron Rodgers level, best quarterback in the division level, that he was the guy that carried the football team last year. Because as much as we have to talk about what's happened in the last 2 weeks, you can't run from what happened last year. You could talk about the defenses all you want, but promise me, until you're out there trying to make that happen, it is such a difficult thing to accomplish, and he did that. Now, that being said, watch his misses and his interceptions the first 2 weeks. They're all forcing the football. In the NFL, when you play quarterback, you throw interceptions because you get fooled by a defense, you pressure or panic. You panic with the football because of pressure, or you're just trying to make things happen. And him trying to make things happen are leading to interceptions with that ball sailing. And so that is problematic for their football team. Do I think he is the solution? Unequivocally. He's talented. He's smart. He's hardworking. He's tough. He's got great leadership skills. Those have all developed. And so while he has been problematic with his play, he's also the solution moving forward. They did not draft Jalen Hurts because they don't think Carson Wentz is good. They drafted Jalen Hurts because they had serious and justifiable concerns with the injuries. And that was justified. But no one's sitting there going, you know what, we need to go get Marquise Goodwin, although he's not playing. We need to go get Jalen Reagor because we got to get Jalen Hurts support. They did that because they wanted to get good people.
Sorry, Steven. They drafted Hurts because they saw what I saw. He changes the plays. He forces things. He turns the ball over.
Max, no.
He tries to do too much. He makes bad decisions.
They wanted to upgrade the backup quarterback spot, and so they
With
did
a
that.
second-round pick.
And they did that. But he has been the reason they have lost the first 2 football games.
Y'all finished?
For now.
Dan Orlovsky, you know, you've done a tremendous job at ESPN. I can't say enough about you. This is your worst moment in your history showing up on First Take. You got me agreeing with this man. Your argument is this morning is the weakest argument you have ever made on behalf of Carson Wentz. I'm going to tell you why. Because you pulled a Max Kellerman. He's not the problem, but he's problematic. You don't want to divert to the past, but you bring up some of the past. Come on now. You got to make up your mind. Here's the reality of the situation. Max is wrong when he talks about last year because what you're talking about were third-string wide receivers and all of this stuff that Carson Wentz had to work with. Over these 2 games here, where there is no excuse, there's no Deshaun Jackson out. He played. Okay, you got Reagan. He's a bad boy.
Right.
He played. You still got Ertz and those boys in Goddard. They played. So what I'm saying to you is that Carson Wentz had to try and overcompensate and successfully went about doing so last year to get them to the playoffs, which is where I disagree with Max because he had to do what he had to do. He had to try to be Superman in order to propel down the Eagles last year. This year, these first 2 games, Max is 100% right. He's looked like straight garbage. He's making mistake after mistake. He's trying to overcompensate when there is no reason to do so. And when you are the quarterback, that's not problematic. That is the problem. Because if you go out there and you unnecessarily engage in a level of play that there's no cause, no reason, no motivation to do so, not only are you creating problems in terms of the decisions that you're making, but you're serving to alienate other dudes that you have there to rely upon because you think you need to go the extra mile and take risks you don't need to be taken. You're making Doug Peterson look bad. You're making your offensive coordinator look bad. And you're frustrating a lot of these receivers that you have at your disposal, along with your tight ends, because you're not going through your progressions the way that you should. You're sitting there and you're overcompensating, and you're trying to be a one-man show. And then to couple that all off, to really accentuate that point by showing up in the post-game conference 0-2. When Dallas has a win, when Washington has a win, when clearly this Eagles team appears to be struggling, there's no need to panic. We're going to be fine. Here's the problem. The city of Philadelphia is panicking about you, Carson Wentz. They're looking at you and they're saying, yo, what's up? There's so much.
The virtual fans are booing.
We're going to give you.
You got virtual fans booing.
Go ahead.
I stated he's the reason they lost the first 2 football games.
But you said it's problematic instead of the problem is what I'm trying to say.
Because
he's the problem.
But no, because I don't believe he's the problem long term. There's 14 games
Has
left
he been
in
the
this
problem
season.
The first 2 games?
Absolutely.
That's all we're saying. That's what we're talking about.
But he's also the solution, Stephen.
No. They're hoping. Hold on, Dan. This is what I mean. They're hoping he's part of the solution. He has the talent to do it. But I got to say something. Last year, the reason both of you can't say, well, last year was different this year. I saw exactly what's happening this year last year, especially late last year.
No, you didn't.
Hold on. I understand that. But what's remained the same is a guy who looks great early, who does things very few can do, and then starts breathing life into the opponent with bad decision making. That's what I saw last year. Even when he got healthy against the NFC East.
But here's the reason why I believe
that's why they drafted a quarterback.
This is the reason why I'm saying problematic rather than problem and part of the solution. The number one thing we will point to in the first 2 weeks is the turnovers, right? He literally is statistically one of the best touchdown to turnover quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. He's the first guy to ever go 3 straight seasons with more than 20 touchdowns and 7 or less picks. He's not notorious for turning the football over through the air. He's not.
He fumbles it.
Right, but he's not notorious for throwing interceptions. So when he's throwing those interceptions the first 2 weeks, I go, that's not who you've been as a player. Reckless? Surely. Hold on to the football too long? Yes. But throwing the interceptions is not who he's been.
Yeah, but that's not why you were critical of him, particularly following week 1. You were critical of him because you saw a guy that was trying to do too much. And you're saying at some point in time, we expect maturation to kick in.
100%.
And you need to step it up, Carson Wentz, and do things a little bit differently. We understand you being a bit risque last year because of what you were working with. And you were desperately trying to make a run, and you ended up succeeding because Dallas folded like a cheap tent.
Good point.
But in the end, this year, Carson Wentz, you don't have to do that. That's what you said opening week. You don't have to do that, Carson Wentz, so why are you doing it?
Right, and you're right, and that's where I'm stuck with Carson Wentz right now. Like the interception that he throws yesterday, that's 1st and 10. It's a play-action pass. He's number 4 in the progression. That is stupid. Like this throw right here is so not needed. And so I have to sit there and go, okay, why do I believe Carson Wentz is doing this stuff? My job isn't to tell what, it's to try and figure out why. And I'm sitting there going, he knows that he's this talented athlete, this talented player who's coming off last year.
You have a blind spot for Carson Wentz. You have forgotten more football than I'll ever know, and most people will ever know. I love the way you break down plays. I keep telling you, since Gruden did it on TV, I haven't seen anyone better. I think you're great. You clearly, therefore, have a blind spot for Carson Wentz because, Dan, what happened this year so far is what happened toward the end of last year, but it's even more exaggerated now. Think about the first week of the season. You're up 3, you're cruising. Right. You breathe life into the team with consecutive.
He's trying to force it.
But he was doing it last year too. He would make one great play, and then the simple stuff he couldn't do, and it's snowballed. It's gotten worse and worse to the point that they drafted a quarterback in the 2nd round instead of using it to trade up to get the best receiver in the draft. This is a 5th-year player on a $100+ million deal. Right. I'm telling you right now, if this continues, Stephen A., if this continues, Jalen Hurts will be the quarterback of this team.
Fine. All right, he will
unless he can't do it in practice.
Hold on, guys. Would Jalen Hurts be the quarterback of the team because he'll be a more accurate passer who will cut down on the mistakes? Hell no.
Correct.
He'd be the quarterback of the team because you're looking at a Lamar Jackson, you're looking at a Kyler Murray, you're looking at a Deshaun Watson to a lesser degree, and you're seeing a cat who can clearly run with the football effectively, and that seems to be trending in the National Football League. I'm not saying he can, but we all know that for the most part, he's not thinking about it.
Or maybe Jalen Hurts is just a dude who will run the coach's plays, who won't try to force
Carson
things.
Doesn't make those checks at the line of scrimmage like people make them out to be. I've had conversations with people who kind of explained it very differently in regards to that. Yes, used to, because he used to say, I know we've got this defense. Let me get to this play. They've reeled that in. Let me ask you this. Is there still the talent level there for him to be top 6 in the NFL, top 8 in the NFL, right? Right.
Top 5.
And so,
if he has talent, be top 5.
Okay, so the talent is still there.
Yep.
The personnel is better, and the coaching is very good. That's why, for me,
he won't take the coaching.
All right.
He did last year.
Dan, this is for you. Carson does lead the NFL in something, off-target throws. So you can have that.
Molly, delete my number. We are no longer friends.
That's execution. She's
We're no longer friends.
Dan,
Oh, my
I will
goodness.
remind
Such a
y'all, just to give y'all a little bit of history. There have been times in NFL history where we pointed to quarterbacks that had talent. We said that about Jamarcus Russell. We said that about Ryan Leaf. We said that about Jeff George.
You're going to go Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf on
No,
us.
I'm just saying we've said those things. In other words, talent is not about that. It's about whether or not you get it
I think there's
done.
two things quickly. I'm sorry.
All right,
Two
we gotta
things.
go, fellas.
You can
Last
coach him
word.
out of this. You
Yeah.
can.
Yes.
And he's got to get his front leg fixed. When he throws violently, it gets
He's
like
going to
this.
play himself
All
out of
sales.
this.
He's got
Forget about coaching.
He's just got to fix his front leg.
Jalen Hurts, ladies and gentlemen.
He can fix it.
Dan, you took an L today. It's okay. You'll redeem yourself.
Wow.
Just take
when
the
we
L.
come
Hold
back
this L.
here
Hold this
on
L.
First
Everyone
Take,
takes them.
Was not your finest moment.
Brady
I can't wait till
gets his
takes it.
first
Wait till
win
tomorrow.
as a Buck. Was Cliff Kellerman impressed? He'll tell you that in a moment. Plus, Josh Allen making Bills Mafia happy. He joins us live to discuss his undefeated Bills later on First Take. Stay here.